DragCast, episode 185. We are talking to Fortune Feimster, and she is really funny. I swear it's really, really good. I love this episode so very much. Please welcome to DragCast 185 with our very special guest, Fortune Feimster. Hello, Dragcasters. It's me, Andrew, otherwise known as Nina West. I am pleased to introduce another episode of DragCast with Nina West with my cohort, Patricia Taylor, where today we are talking to the very funny, very hysterical, and very amazing Fortune Feimster. This is episode 185, recorded on Tuesday, March 24th. Enjoy.
Welcome to DragCast with Nina West. I'm Patricia, and with me as always
is Andrew. How are you guys?
Hi.
And Andrew, the special guest here.
We also have a very special guest today, Fortune Feimster, writer, actor, comedian. You know her from Chelsea Lately and the Mindy Project. You can catch her on Sincerely Fortune, her weekly podcast. And if you haven't seen it yet, you're way behind the curve, but you can check out her Netflix special, Sweet and Salty. It's streaming now, and it's excellent.
Aww.
Welcome to the DragCast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be on here.
We're thrilled to have you. And how's Jax? I hope she's there.
She is here. She's in the den, and just she's been busy holding the fort down. Apparently, I don't know how to cook or clean or take care of myself, and this has all been exposed thanks to the lovely coronavirus, because normally I can just say, "Oh, I gotta go work. I gotta go. I can't load the dishwasher right now. Work." now I have no excuses.
Oh no!
But so here we find ourselves in this really weird thing that's happening all across the world. How has this impacted you? And what are you going through these last few days that have been kind of crazy? What have these last few days been like for you?
Well, it's definitely not how anyone anticipated. Like, who would have ever guessed in a million years that we would be in this position? I'm sure scientists are like, we knew, but the rest of us were just living life. And I was gearing up for my first theater tour. I had all because thankfully, because of my special, I had all these theaters sold out, ready to go, and um that basically has wiped out the first half of that, which in the grand scheme of things I don't have much to complain about. I'm healthy and I can take some hits because I don't have kids, and so I'm just trying to put it in perspective. And it's like such it's a bummer, of course, but you just hope that everyone is healthy and staying home, and that we'll get through this, and that life will pick back up at some point, and I'll start that tour eventually.
I want to say, like, do you feel the pressure? Because, like, I find relief when I will have the last few days stumbled upon your Instagram and or sought it out, at times just to needing a laugh. And you're
That's
just,
good.
I mean, but do you feel pressure because you are a comedian? Do you feel this pressure to kind of be on for everyone else right now?
I thought that I would. I At first I thought I would feel that pressure. Like, I think like every comedian, I was doing like live videos and trying to like pump out content, and I'm still trying to do that like here and there, but I'm not. Um, in a way, I kind of shut down a little bit creatively. Uh, I think that I just and taking this as a time to just be, and if content or creativity comes out of me, great, but I'm trying not to force it. But I've had like people like write me being like, "Hey, will you like do this live storytelling show or do stand up?" And I'm happy to do like podcasts, anything where I can just like be myself. Like, I love talking to you, and um but like I kind of shut down the stand up for a minute, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it
My
does.
brain can't compute it right now.
Do you think it's maybe like a defense mechanism to just not have to output right now and to just be kind of more.
Yeah, I think probably it's just we're all like riddled with anxiety, right? Like, because
Yeah, I'm scared shitless.
well, that's the thing that's been so interesting about this, because I think we're both very positive people. I'm sure Patricia,
Mhm.
you are too.
Sure.
Uh and normal, like, people like us are usually those people that are like, hey, this is a hard thing you're going through. You know what? You're gonna get past it. Everything's gonna be fine, because the world around you is still going. You know what I mean? You're like, life is going, people are going, you're just like, oh, you can overcome this hard thing you're going through. What's different about this is, like, in a weird way, a lot of the world has stopped, and you go, oh, like, I don't have the answers. I don't know what's on the other side of this, and it makes it a little tougher even for the optimist to be like, "Hey, we're gonna, we will get through this," but you just don't know what that looks like and when. So I
Right.
think it's a challenge for the optimist right now.
It really is. It really is. I try to think of all the ridiculous things. Okay, so like here's a good example. Like when I heard that we were gonna be like sequestered to our homes, I thought I've got to get to the grocery store, and I was
Mhm.
craving one food item. I was like, if I don't have this, and for me, it was dill dip and potato chips. I don't know why,
Oh,
but I was like,
really?
I've got to go get dill dip. I was like, I
Yeah.
really want that. Was there something for you that you're like, ah, hell, I gotta go get this?
Oh, yeah, it was around, what was it? It was like March 11th or something. I feel like I was about to fly out the next morning for Grand Rapids for the first day to my tour, and we were kind of like, "Oh, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, what's happening? What's happening?" And then it kind of became clear that everything was about to just shut down.
Yeah,
So we, especially, I think it kind of hit the coast a little bit sooner than everybody else. We were like hunkering down a couple days before the rest of the country.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so everyone was like scrambling to the stores, and I think we went to like we had to go to like three different grocery stores because they were out of like everything. But I'm trying to think I what it was that oh, for me, it was, this is so bougie, oat milk. You know, I was like I gotta have my oat milk, y'all.
Oh, because Brenda's back. Brenda's back.
She's back. So I was like getting oat milk like a real LA butthole. Um, and tortilla chips. We got like four giant bags of tortilla chips. I shit you not, and we're already through like two and a half of them.
I could eat. I could eat a bag of tortilla chips and bean dip all day long.
There are we have been eating nachos like crazy. And then I didn't even know, like, you're so busy trying to get all these things, like the essentials. You don't even have time to think about the, like, what do I really want? And then Andrew made our lives much richer and sent us Jenny's ice cream this weekend, and we literally about died of happiness. There'd been no sunshine, and then the sunshine arrived at our door via Jenny's ice cream.
I just remember sitting across from you doing your podcast, and
Yeah.
you were talking about coming to Columbus and how you were going to have Jenny's, and then the world shut down, and I was like, oh gosh, I got to get her some Jenny's. She just needs to like have some like light in her life.
Oh, you're so sweet.
well,
That was so sweet.
Well, it makes me, but it goes back to like one of the things I love about you is you kind of find joy. You do find joy in like everything. And that's the art of how you tell a joke and the art of your storytelling in comedy is so joy filled that it really
Oh,
does welcome everyone to the table in the telling of a joke and the conversation of laughter and how important that is. So is that how like, how would you describe your comedy and your storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, when I'm not in a pandemic, I usually
You know, everyone finds himself in sometimes.
I usually wake up feeling pretty, you know, like the glass is always half full for me, and I'm very grateful because I know, not everyone has that luxury. And so my comedy, not to say I haven't experienced hard times or, difficulties in life and pain and all that. I'm lucky to be at a point in my life now and have been for a while where I have peace, and having peace of mind, um, just allows you to, I don't know, think more clearly, like,
Mhm.
so I can call up these stories from my childhood and see them in a way that's very fun and silly uh and joyful. And so that's kind of what I tapped into for that special, because it ended up being very autobiographical. Not even really, I didn't really set out to do that. It just, these were the stories that kept coming up for me in my head. And I put them all together, and I since it was an hour special, I really wanted to make it a narrative where it's like there's a beginning, middle, and an end. This
Yeah.
is going to come full circle. This is going to come full circle. You're going to see how this comes. So it was almost like writing a book. I was like dissecting this set like every night, and I was rememorizing 75 minutes of material every every night for, oh, it took that part was like 4 months, but the whole special took about 2.5 years.
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah, it's a journey. It's a real journey, and you just like, uh, I don't even remember what your question was, but but I guess I just want to tell story. I just want to tell stories that are fun and relatable, and I'm also trying to put a message in there without people realizing that they're being told a message.
Well, I one of the things that I really found important in this in Sweet and Salty, is this idea of representation and this idea of
Mm,
seeing someone who you haven't seen before claim their space, and how important and powerful it is for everyone else who is like you.
mhm.
You did you I know that's a conscious decision. Can you even fathom the impact that you're having right now, especially with people sitting at home and finding you now in
Yeah.
this time period? I honestly think your special comes at such an important time, and little did anyone know.
Yeah, I mean, I hoped that just by me being me and trying to be a good person and just, trying to live a respectable life, I was hoping that I wasn't like setting out to be some sort of example, or I don't know what you would call it, but I was like, if by me being me helps someone, I love that. I love that that's a byproduct of being a comedian and being out in the public eye. Like what greater gift, because then I get to do what I love, and then it means something. Um and I've been getting lots of messages from people since the special came out, and it ramped up again in the last few weeks because of the quarantine. And I've found that a lot of people, because of their situation right now, are watching my special with their parents. They're different age groups. And I've gotten some really lovely messages. The one girl wrote me just yesterday, and she was saying that, her mom is very religious, Southern, very similar story as my background, and that her mom's pretty like hasn't been very accepting of her being out, and they turned on this the daughter turned on the special thinking that once it started talking about the gay thing, that her mom would leave the room or shut it off, but she stayed, and she watched the whole special, and would even, laugh. It was almost like the mom didn't want to laugh, but she would allow herself to at times. And she just said that it, and at the end, the mom was just like, "Oh, that was really funny," and she felt like she could see in her mom's eyes that she was changed a little bit, not totally, but there was something that, like, just that the mom sat there and watched a lesbian comic and allowed herself to enjoy it was such a huge step for her mom and their relationship and stuff like that. It's just like blows me away because you just don't even know that you can do that through comedy.
You, but you're hitting that nerve so personally, which is again, it's part of whether or not it's the byproduct of it, like you said, you're
Hmm.
still able to, I think, welcome people where they're at to allow them to come to you. Does that make sense?
Well, I just think that making someone laugh is such a great bridge to, you found the same thing in your career where, people that might not accept you otherwise, if you can make them laugh, you sort of take their guard down,
Mhm.
and they start to look at you like a human and not this thing that they're against. And that's a nice it's a nice I don't know, tool, what you would call it, something that just, if you can help enlighten anyone through laughter, I mean, that's so great.
I'm sure you've been asked this many times, but did you know you were funny when you were a kid? Did you know you were the funny kid?
No, I wasn't really I wasn't really a funny kid. I think I got funnier as I got older. When I was young, I was pretty shy, and I was more of the observer. But I was athletic, and so I was, even though I was a chubby kid, I was athletic. I was great. I was great in every sport but swimming.
And the fun dip.
So
So
I the fun dip. Yeah, I tell all about my terrible swimming skills in my special. Um, but I was friends with a lot of the boys. I When we would go do PE, I would go play sports with the boys. So I was able to fit in by being good at sports. And I wasn't really the known as the class clown or the comedian. As I got older, I started, I think not meaning to, I started making people laugh, but on like like small scale, like a tennis practice. I would do like I would watch SNL and then do those sketches for my tennis team, and they were like, "That's so funny." I'm
which
like,
character would
"Thanks."
you do? What'd you
I
do?
didn't write it. um, I was big into Mary Catherine Gallagher, Molly Shannon's character,
Mhm, mhm.
and the cheerleaders, Will Ferrell and Sherry Terry. And that was when I was like high school, college, and then when I was in junior high, I would sing all of Adam Sandler's songs, like Lunch Lady Land.
Slabber Joe, slabber
Slop
Joe.
slobber Joe. So I was making people laugh by jacking everyone else's material.
Well, when did you start writing? Because that is really what makes. I mean, that's really what makes a great. I mean, timing
Yeah.
and so like. So when did you start writing?
Oh, I had no idea how much writing was gonna be involved in comedy for sure. It feels like I'm constantly having homework. Um, yeah. Like every writer you talk to, you're just like, "Ugh, I've gotta open my computer. Oh my god." It's like such anxiety. I knew I could write sort of, like, I in high school was one of like five people in the whole state that got like a five or something on some English writers, one of those standardized writing tests. And that was the first time where I was like, oh, I guess I can write. And then in college I was my graduation speaker, and I wrote that speech, and people seem to really respond to that. And So it was like the skill would kind of peak out here and there, but I didn't like take writing classes. My mom was a teacher, and so she just always was like, she thought it was so fun to play like grammar games. And oh, so she'd be
Got
like,
it.
what's a conjunction? What's an interjection? What's the noun of this? What's an adverb? You're just like, this game sucks. Um, but I didn't realize that I was learning all these writing tools as grammar my whole life. And so I moved to LA, and I was working as a personal assistant, and this woman who was a journalist was like, "Hey, I heard you could write. I heard about your graduation speech from this person or blah blah blah. Do you want to write for me part time for the LA Daily News?" So I just like got handed like a journalism career for the next like 7 years.
Mm.
Um, and I was an entertainment journalist uh, by day and started doing comedy at night. And that's how I paid my bills while no one wanted to pay me as a comedian.
And that's the sacrifice you made, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was so grateful for it because my job was usually 9 to like 6. That's when I would interview celebrities on the phone and write about it for the newspaper, and then I would go do like improv classes at the Groundlings or do stand up, and so I was able to like have this dual life, and it helped, and it got me right up until about 2010. I was able to do that, and then the newspapers obviously took a big hit and just started
Yeah.
folding left and right. So they had to let me go because they just couldn't afford it anymore. I was working for a syndicated newspaper column, and it was that 2010 was the year I was like, okay, I gotta, okay, no more safety net. It's all in. And I was so broke, so broke. Uh, but it paid off because a year later, that's when I got Chelsea Lately.
One of the first things I remember seeing you in was Todrick Hall's The Beauty and the Bee. Was it that video?
Yeah, uh-huh.
It
I
was
did
it and
I did
you
2
did
videos for him. It was that
yeah.
one and the pitch Bitch Perfect, I think it was called. It was the
Yeah.
parody of Pitch Perfect.
I remember seeing you in the what's I think it's The Beauty and the Beast, the What's Good one, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Who is this person and how do I get to know them?" Um,
I I had no idea the reach that Todrick has, and he like just called. He got my number from somebody. Just called me out of the blue one night. I feel like it was like 11 p.m. and he's like, "Hey, this is Todrick," and he's so sweet and so upbeat, and he's just like, "Hey, I want you to be in this song, like, can you like come record something like tonight?" I'm like, "Tonight?" He's like, "Yeah, like in a couple, like it, like I never met him, and I showed up at like someone's apartment at like 1 in the morning and recorded the vocals. And then he's like, "Okay, and be at the Abbey tomorrow at like 5, and we're gonna shoot this." I was like, "Okay." So it was
was
so hilarious.
Like,
was this during that time period?
This was, gosh, I want to say I was already on Chelsea at that point. I don't know when that would have been, 2013 or 14.
Okay,
So
that's right,
so
yeah.
I was thick into the comedy world then. Uh, but yeah, but I was so amazed at how like he would get these videos up with like no prep and make them look like they were like $1 million budget. And he would just get like, I've never seen anybody just like get this army of people and dancers and costumes and like so quickly, so out of nowhere, and it's just beautiful.
Mhm.
did it
Yeah.
feel that way, like, while you were shooting it? Were you like, "Oh, this is so cool and so awesome," or does it like
It's
come?
so fast. It's so fast and so like, and now here or there, do this, do that, or learn this choreography. Now do this. Okay, okay, and bye. Good to see you, girl. It's very, it's very like. But I'm so used to having come up in the Groundlings, like I'm so used to doing things like that, very much like, oh, we have an idea, let's shoot it, let's get costume, it was all very last minute, thrown together, and so that didn't bother me.
When you found yourself, so you find yourself out of a job and you find yourself in Chelsea Handler's presence. How did that
Hmm.
really for you become? How did we get there?
So I was a couple years in the stand up, and I was mostly in the improv and sketch world, but trying to get better at stand up. And I hadn't known that Chelsea's show was very popular, and I just thought, like, those writers and the panelists seems very close and the cool group, and I didn't think that was a group that I could infiltrate in any way. And my manager told me that they were doing a hiring a new writer for the show, and I thought,
Mhm.
she's like, you need to submit, and I was like, well, there's no way. I've never written for TV. I've written as a journalist, but I've never been on a show. And she's like, well, why not try? Like, she puts all her writers on TV, and so I submitted a package trying to where you're when you submit a package, you're trying to like write in the voice of Chelsea or whoever it is that's the host. And
Mhm.
so I'm like trying to write like, I love vodka, and but
Okay.
I ultimately can't really not write in my voice. So I was doing like stupid like Harry Potter jokes, it was like stuff Chelsea would never say. So I don't know how I got to the next round, but somehow I did. And so I had to meet with the producers, and that went well. And I didn't know this, but they ended up coming to see me perform sketch comedy at the Groundlings, because they wanted a writer who does a lot of sketches. And that then led to a meeting with Chelsea. And this all happened very quickly. Well, actually, no. I submitted a package and then didn't hear anything for like 3 months. Then once I met the producers, it happened very quickly. And I met Chelsea, and she was very intimidating.
Now, what did she? I mean, honestly, because she seems tough,
She
like in the
is.
best way, but like very like intimidating. I think I'd wet myself.
She's very intimidating. Only if you, I love her and I know her now, so she's not intimidating to me now. But if you don't know her, she has a very strong presence,
Which is
and
amazing and
yeah,
awesome.
she knows what she wants. She's not she doesn't waste her time basically.
Mhm.
And so I was telling a story, and we were about 10 minutes into this meeting, and she was very nice. But like I was mid story when she just got up in the middle of my story, and she goes, "It was nice to meet you, Fortune," and like shook my hand and left. And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I sat down and finished out the meeting with the producers. I'm sure they were like, "What the hell is going on?" So I called my manager, and I just was like, "Well, I don't know what I said, but I did something to make her leave right away." And so I just was like, I blew it. I didn't get it. And the next day they called me and offered me the job. And so what I know now, knowing Chelsea, is that she decided, I think, pretty quickly that she wanted to hire me. She didn't need to hear once she decides something, she doesn't need to be waste her time.
Mhm.
Uh, and also I realized that I was early on in the lineup of candidates they were meeting, and she didn't want to meet other people because because so if I had been like later in the line and she liked somebody else, she probably would have hired that person.
So
So it was like me having spent years getting ready for that opportunity, and then also a little luck, being in the line that I was.
Like when
Well,
you think about the time that you were, when you think back on Chelsea, do you have a moment that was just like that was the quintessential moment of you being on Chelsea lately, like, or a favorite episode or a favorite moment?
I'm trying to think. It took me a little while to adjust there. Like my first year, I kind of like went back into this sort of introverted phase that I used to be as a kid because they were all so very close, and I felt like the young kid. And it took me a while to like really break through. And then once I did, I was like, once I just was myself, like I was great friends with everybody. I can't remember a particular moment, but I do remember like a bunch of us were in Vegas for some reason. I feel like Chelsea had a show or something, and we were walking through Vegas, which was like, Chelsea lately central. All of her, like so many of her fans love Vegas. And we you would have thought that the Beatles were coming through. The way that people were acting, it was like all of us and Chewy and Chelsea. I mean, people were losing their minds. And that was the first time I'd ever experienced anything like that. And it definitely was a moment where I was like, "Whoa, this is different, so different." And you feel like, "Oh, maybe I've made it."
what's the truth to that? Like, how do, because you have had these major moments, and you it sounds like you don't believe it, like you've made it, because like you are you're major, but it doesn't sound
I'm
like you believe
so major.
it. Major, you're so major.
you're major, baby.
You're
Um,
major babes. You're major babes.
you're major. I think anyone who's anyone, not all stand-ups. There's so many stand-ups with a very healthy self-esteem. Uh, but
Give me another one.
a lot of stand-ups, like stand-up is a great equalizer. Like you can be like so big in your career and then like be in like the um closet of a comedy club green room, like where you're eating chips beside like a vacuum.
And a
Um
urine. Yeah.
yeah. And it doesn't matter, like even these guys who are doing, arenas, they have to go back to the club eventually and rework a whole new set. Like at some point you're going back to your roots. And I do feel like I've found a level of success, and I keep growing, and I love that. But I don't think I ever think like, "Oh my god, I've made it." I just think I'm always trying to like keep working, that I'm too busy to think like, where am I at on this scale of whatever Hollywood has? I'm just
Mhm.
like, "Oh, what's the next job I need, I got to make sure I can pay my bills should no one want to hire me in 5 years." I think that's where my mind goes.
I
So
think
yeah, so you're telling me that never wanes.
No, no,
Okay,
not for
cool.
me. I
Good to
mean,
know.
other people maybe, but I didn't grow up with very much money, so for
Yeah.
me, I'm like I'm in survival mode all the time. It's like, okay, I gotta work. I can't say no to this. Like, what if something happened? Because as I talk about my special, my family used to have money and they lost it all before I was born. And I saw them make so many mistakes financially that
Mhm.
I think I overcompensate and work so much to make sure that I'm never in that position again.
Mhm. Which makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, there's no so and I don't know. I think it's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just like happy to that anybody cares at all about what I'm doing or saying. It's cool. You're like, this is great. And so I don't really think beyond that.
I think you could pretty much, to me, once you did something like ice cream dance, you've made it. Like that is beautiful language. There's something about that is so just perfect, joyful. How How did
Oh,
you
thank you.
was it an accident? Did you plan it? How did that come about?
It was definitely an accident, and, I do, I'm gonna owe I owe, Nina and everyone an ice cream dance with my Jenny's ice cream at some point.
I
Yes!
Um,
can't.
yes, it happened by accident. I was, at Disneyland with, my one of my one of my best friends is Jillian Bell. Do you know she's an actress who, was
Yes.
on Workaholics and but
You know,
tons of
it's funny.
stuff.
We just had Ross Matthews on an hour ago, and we talked to Ross, and you're like name
Yeah.
dropping bigger than Ross.
Oh, yeah.
You better. You said, let you know it work out. No, okay, just check it.
I know Jillian's been in such a million things. She's one of my best friends, and
She's
we've
awesome.
been neighbors in two different neighborhoods for the last gosh 8, well 10 years. Um, and we went to Disneyland. We came up at the Groundlings together, and we went to Disneyland, and it was super hot that day, and we decided that we were gonna like take a break from the fun, and and we were gonna sit down on the benches and wait for the parade to come, and
Hmm.
I was like, well, if we're sitting down, I'm getting some ice cream, and so I got ice cream, and while they were all sitting down, I went to the parade started to come, and I went up to where the parade was, and I there was like a bunch of music, Disney music, and I was
It sounds
uh
like heaven.
yes, I know that's your heaven for sure. I was uh I was eating this ice cream and dancing like not a care in the world, and just watching this parade all by myself, and I didn't realize that Jillian was videotaping or filming me, and so I get like after I finished dancing, she was like, "Look at check your text," and I open this video and start dying laughing. It's just me dancing with ice cream for like a minute, and so I ended up posting it to Instagram because content. Uh, and everybody was just like, I got like so many comments, and people were like, "You have to do this like all the time," and I was like, "All right, fine."
Do
So
you?
it just let like or evolved from there.
I have a couple questions off of that. First, what is your favorite ice cream to dance with?
Oh, well
Their
now
flavor.
it's like kind of a thing. Like every city I go to, people are like, "You gotta, try our local." They give me like really great local suggestions. So I'm usually like now my taste buds have expanded to whatever the local favorite ice cream is. My OG favorite growing up when there was only like 30 flavors available was Baskin Robbins mint chocolate chip.
So good.
Uh that was the OG of deliciousness. Now it's always like the salted caramels and the whatever
Very
artisan ice cream situation but, I just had the gooey, butter cake from J the and was the one of the ones you sent. I ate that 2 nights ago, and it was delish.
I'm telling you can't go wrong with that Jenny's because
Mhm.
it is tasty.
Real tasty. Real
um,
tasty.
but I had a question also about about your ice cream dance, and you said that content kind of jokingly. Do you ever feel because you are seen as this personality? Do you ever feel kind of a slave to having to produce something and put something out rather than having it be like authentic and inspired? Do you know? Is it the battle between getting something out and staying in people's face versus
Mhm. I
something that
think
you really do them?
I was definitely feeling that pressure, weirdly enough, right before the world stopped. Um, I was getting this like anxiety of like, oh my god, I just put out my special, now I have to have a new hour, and I gotta like have cool merch because now people are gonna want to have cool merch, and like they know about like fun dips, so like I gotta make a fun dip thing, and I
Yeah.
gotta I gotta make a tater tot shirt, like I was just like staying up at night and like I gotta have a funny Brenda video, and I gotta, I have my hands in so many different pots that you're just like, I gotta keep all these plates spinning. And so I was really getting kind of like overwhelmed, and then everything just stopped. And none of us have experienced this in our whole lives where it's like, I mean, it went from I'm busier than I've ever been to nothing.
Hmm.
And I just kind of let all that go. I just kind of was like, there's a lot going on right now that's out of all of our hands, and I'm not gonna sit here and spend my minutes stressing over this stuff. I'm gonna let myself just be and not have this pressure of content. Like if I make a funny video, great, I'll make it and post it. If I come up with merch in a couple weeks, great. But it's like, I don't know, it just sort of made you realize how much we all take the little things we took for granted, and the pressure just kind of went away because I guess it was like, oh, there's so much more at stake right now.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, it's sobering, right? Everything
Mhm.
did stop and just kind of immediately make you go, yeah, how do I reflect on this?
I mean, I'm sure when life gets back to hopefully, some normalcy, I'll be like, I've got to get content. But for right
You
now, I'm in a zen place. I think just trying to cope with the dealing of the bigger picture.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
think you're gonna anything that is changing for you now? It sounds like you are being more reflective. Do you feel like, I don't know, I'm thinking about that too. I'm like, how is this gonna, on the other side of this, is it gonna change me, and am I gonna
Mhm.
adopt any new habits? Like, is this quiet period maybe something that's gonna carry over?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's I guess the part of it's like, oh, what are things gonna look like 4 months from now? Like,
Wow.
will we ever shake hands again? You like don't know it. It's these little questions I think people have that you're like, I don't know. Maybe we'll get through this and everything will go back to how it was. There's no way to know, but um I guess the hope is that this is a once in a lifetime thing. I'm hoping. Um and where it's like, oh, this was the time. We'll always remember that time when the world stopped for however much time. And so I'm just trying to like, I don't know, just sort of be. And I'm sure once the grind picks back up, I'll get right back into the grind, but I do hope that there's some sort of like appreciation for the everyday mundane. Oh, I get to go to have dinner with my friends tonight in a restaurant. I get to go to a concert. I don't know. I just hope there's some sort of acknowledgement that we're lucky.
have eh,
Um
I feel like just watching your special, just like how you take everything is so relatable because you're telling like real stories from real life, and you're taking this funny perspective on them. Are you finding anything fun? Is there any humor in this situation for you? Is that helping break the tension at all?
yeah, I mean, I've definitely I
You
mean,
added to the paper too.
I mean, I definitely am. I guess I'm a more reflective person than people realize, which is why I do my podcast, because it's a time where I'm a little bit more, like I'm still silly, but it's a more like I don't want to say deeper because that sounds so I don't know, bougie or whatever, but
No.
I'm a Cancer, so I am more introspective than what people would assume from my silly videos. But I do see life in the comedy filter. So, I've been like watching Tiger King, just like dying laughing at these crazy people, and it makes me want to play Carol Baskin. I want to like get a wig and be this lady now on Instagram. So I'm definitely like still thinking of like funny things that make me laugh. And like I have a guitar and I haven't played it in like 7 years. And I was like, wouldn't it be funny if I did like, how all these musicians right now are having like live concerts trying to make everybody feel better. I was like, wouldn't it be funny if I'm like, hey, I'm gonna have a live concert on my Instagram, and and but I can't play anything.
I
and
mean,
I keep asking for requests.
I would totally tune in, and I would absolutely Venmo you.
And
It's Cash App.
I don't even know if, I mean, people could like tune in and be like, this is so stupid. But for some reason it makes me laugh. So I am definitely finding the humor in this, just like sitting around not doing anything.
But okay, so now where you and I found our love before we go, and when I got lucky enough to meet you was on Drag Race, and we talked about this on your
Yeah.
on Sincerely Fortune. But you have been, was this your second appearance on the show,
It
right?
was. Yeah, I was judge. It was the Trinity season. Who won that year?
Season
That was
9.
Sasha. Sasha Velour won that year.
Yeah,
And I did I was a judge then, and then your season I got to do judging and the, what do you call it?
the improv.
Challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
improv challenge. So it felt like I got to like be a little bit more a part of things and get to know you guys a little bit better, which was really fun for me because as a judge you can't, like, you guys are on stage and we can't talk to you.
Yeah.
And so but you and I did like a little wave, like, hey girl, hey
I was
girl,
like, hey, girl. Did
hey
you?
girl.
Hey, girl. Did you have any information going into those scenes with each
Uh-uh.
group? Like, what
No,
was the experience for you in
all
Cheyenne?
they all they told us was they asked Cheyenne and I if we wanted to do this challenge, this improv challenge, and they just told us it would be a parody of Cops, essentially. But they didn't tell us. We don't know anything about who's a contestant, and we don't know who's paired up. We didn't even know that y'all were paired up. They really were just like, they were like, you're gonna pull up in this cop car and there's gonna
Shit's
be a
gonna.
yeah, there's gonna be a scenario. We didn't even know the scenario, and you guys are gonna just figure it out. But what we didn't anticipate is we didn't anticipate everybody being at like a 12 to start with. So we were getting out of our cop car being like, what's going on? And I was like, oh my god. We were like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah, you got it real rough with Banshee and Plastique. I mean, that was like, it's like,
They were crawling everywhere and jumping, screaming over each other, and
it was,
we were we lost all control like immediately.
what is your, it is so uncomfortable to watch. What, what,
It was interesting for me because I improv and sketcher is where I started. So I would like, I would know where the scene, like once were started, I would kind of know where these scenes needed to go, but I couldn't tell you guys. So I would like try as an improviser to sort of push them in these certain directions.
have you, what's your history with drag? Like, do you remember your first time you ever met a queen and were exposed to a queen?
I think that I mean most of my experience is just really loving and appreciating it because as a comedian, I like a lot of drag queens travel all over the country, sometimes the world, and so every when I was coming up at these comedy clubs, and I was um, still young, and so I had the energy to go out after my shows. Uh, the a lot of people would say like they'd come to my shows and they would say, "Hey, do you want to go to our local bar after the show?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, why not?" I was single and n- nothing. Netflix, I don't think had was what it was is now, and because now I just eat chicken wings and watch Netflix after my
That's
shows.
that's why we're soul sisters.
Yes. But I would go to these local clubs all over the country, these gay bars, and a lot of Friday or Saturday nights there would be a drag show. And so I would just get to watch these local drag queens um entertain the crowd, lip sync, get their tips. And so I really didn't know much about drag before that. I'd known who RuPaul was, of course, but um that was my real introduction, was just the local scene.
Mhm,
And the queens were always so nice, and they had a similar job as a comic, having to be the MC, especially was having to
mhm.
keep everyone entertained. And of course, I love me some drag bingo. That was becoming a big thing.
Would
So I wasn't versed in it. Like I didn't know, I knew who like Jackie Beat was, and the people who'd been, Lady Bunny, people like that.
Yeah, the people who'd really run the circuit for years.
Exactly. But I didn't really know about like my like my drag mom. I didn't know, I didn't know like the hierarchy of it and the
Oh,
traditions
that's
of it.
cultural. Yeah, that's cultural. You don't
Yeah.
have to know that. If you were to ever
Mhm.
do drag, what would your drag name be? If you would be a king or a queen, what would your name be?
I feel like I would be a drag queen, because me getting in one of those pageant dresses would be as much of a makeover uh as me wearing a mustache. Um
Well, now we
I
have
would
a debutante
yeah,
at heart.
that's right. I think I would be like something with like a something with misfortune, or something
Misfortune is
something
so
cookie
good.
cookie
Misfortune is
something. I don't
so
know.
good.
But I always loved the drag show so much, and it made me really happy, and I felt like it was um such a cool thing that our community had. And they were, because they just represented such positivity and fun, and everyone loved seeing them perform. And to then see it go on this huge like worldwide stage was pretty
Mhm.
mind-blowing, because you're like, oh, I've been enjoying these in these little gay bars for years now, and to see it on such a big stage is really cool.
So we did get a couple of questions from our listeners to ask you. Actually,
Yeah.
you've answered a few of them already, but I just wanted to pass some of these along.
All right.
One is, what's your favorite Jenny's ice cream flavor? I'm sure that's from like a local fan.
Well, it is the salted caramel, which was one of the
Classic.
ones that Andrew sent me. So
Mhm.
I'll be digging into that one. Might have to be the ice cream dance one. Um, yeah, I think that's one of their best ones.
There's a lot of ice cream questions, so that's definitely had an impact. Ice cream or sherbet?
Ice cream or what?
Sherbet?
Oh, sherbet. All
Yeah.
the
Sherbet. I say sherbet too.
sherbet. uh, ice cream for me. I mean, I don't mind a nice sherbet here and there, but give me that dairy
And one of our younger listeners wanted to know what are a few of your favorite jokes.
of like mine.
Have you?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit broad, but
A little
yeah,
broad.
yours.
Well, I'll say, one of my favorite jokes of mine probably was, probably my swim story, um, where I talk about how I attempted to be on the swim team as a kid, and I only joined the swim team for a fun dip. Um,
So good.
that's a fun one, and then one of my classic jokes that was the first joke that made people pay attention to me was, I talked about how I came out later in life, and, my mom didn't understand why I was so intense about friendships when I was in college. She'd be like, "I don't understand why you get so upset when your friend Michelle goes out on a date with a guy." And I was like, "Because she's my best friend." And I would like yell this on stage back in the day, and it was the joke that got me in a lot of doors. So I'm always grateful to that one. And then a
How's your
joke.
host?
What's that?
No, sorry, keep going. Sorry.
A joke. A joke that someone else has told would be the Ellen's phone call to God is probably uh
So good.
one of the most classic jokes.
I wanted to ask, how is your mom? Good.
She's good. Yeah, she's been hunkering down for a couple weeks now. I felt like it took a lot of North Carolinians. They were a few days behind us. They were like a week behind us, and there's still the places that are just now kind of starting to go inside. And but my mom she's over 70, so she's been taking it very seriously and has been staying at home, so I'm glad for that. She's
So
just
no
reading books and
rating book,
reading books, going on Facebook, watching the news.
no trips to Hooters.
Not yet. We will all have to celebrate at Hooters once this is
A virtual visit for wings.
Yes, that's right.
Now,
Yes.
before we go, one of our favorite things to do is to close out every episode with what we call good vibes, where we want to talk about what's making us feel good right now, or kind of
Mhm.
send out a really positive message into the world. Sometimes it's a book we're reading or a TV show we're watching just to distract us, or just
Yeah.
like a thought or something. And so we wanted you to kind of let us know your good vibes right now.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a couple because we all need extra good vibes right now.
I agree.
Uh Highly recommend Tiger King on Netflix. It's a bonkers documentary about these people that own tigers. It will if you need the distraction for a couple of days, some people are blowing right through it. It's like 7 episodes. I'm telling you, this it's crazy and you gotta watch it because it will make you not feel so bad about everything else in the world. Watch that. And then I'm really enjoying. I've been trying to do it every day. We've been walking our dogs, and even if you don't have a animal to walk, I just think uh taking a walk like in your neighborhood, not like where a bunch of people are. We're like still trying to steer clear of other people, but just getting some fresh air and getting a little exercise has been it's like the saving grace for me.
Yeah, thank
That
you
is
for that.
brilliant.
Yeah.
And before I let you go, Fortune, if you could put, I believe in speaking stuff into the universe. If you had a dream project when all this is said and done, what would it be?
Uh I wrote a movie a couple years ago that I sold to Amblin, Steven Spielberg's company, and it's right there at the like 5 yard line to get filmed. And
Mm-hmm.
it takes there's so many hoops to get a movie made, and they fall apart very quickly. And they're But we're like right there on the edge. And so my dream would be to get to make this movie because I think it's so funny. I mean, I'm biased, of course, but I think it's very funny, and I would get to be in it too, obviously. And I think it's one of those movies that people would really just like enjoy because it's silly and fun, and it's seeing women do things that you don't get to see them do a lot, and I'm just really crossing my fingers that somehow that works itself out.
We're gonna send all the good vibes and energy towards that because I think it needs to happen. Thank you,
Thank
Fortune.
you. Yeah, of course. Thank
I just
you.
adore you. Thank you. Now, Fortune, where can everyone find you at on social media so they can follow you, fall in love even more deeply with you, and keep up with everything Fortune?
Oh, let's fall in love. I'm very active on the old Instagram. That's at Fortune Feimster, Feimster. And the Twitter, Facebook, all those things. I'm gonna be on tour eventually. So fortunefeimster.com will have tour dates in a couple weeks. And I just put a bunch of videos of things I've done on that site too. If you want to watch some silly videos, check it out.
Thank you, Fortune. Thank you so much for your time. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
blessing our night during this really crazy time period, and wish you the
Oh,
best to you and Jax, and sending you so much love. And ice
same.
cream dancing now.
That's right. Same to you guys. I appreciate you having me. It's such an honor to be on the DragCast and talk to you, and stay safe out there.
Thank you, Fortune.
Yeah.
Thank you. Follow
Bye.
Fortune, Fortune Feimster, all over the world. Thank you, Fortune.
Bye, you guys. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye. I hope you've enjoyed listening to DragCast with Nina West this week and our very special guest, Fortune Feimster. Next week, we have a big one featuring Jackie Tone, Charlie Barnett, and after that, Kristen Chenoweth and Bobby Moynihan. Thanks for tuning in to DragCast. Follow us on Spotify or go to listen wherever fine podcasts are played, like Stitcher or even our website, dragcast.net. Thank you so much for listening.